Okay, let's talk about one last stock while we have you here, Steve, before we end out the night. Can we get your thoughts on this bad boy that's just going crazy over a month? Steve, you at $10 by the end of the year. What are your thoughts on SoFi?
I may be revising that public prediction.
What was your public prediction?
$10 by the end of this year, 100 billion market cap by the end of 2023. Sorry, 2033.
You got as bullish as KRIS there for a second.
Oh my God.
I don't have enough calls.
So, Steve, you have a big position in SoFi. They got a price target increase to $14 today. Any other thoughts on the company?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's everything that I continuously say on SoFi Weekly. It's everything that I say on my Seeking Alpha articles. I don't think we need to regurgitate everything. The very quick pitches. I don't think the younger generation is going to be a sticky component for legacy banks. I think SoFi is going to be the game in town for the younger generation. And I don't have the stats pulled up, and I'm not going to give bad numbers, but the millennials are going to surpass Gen X in the next couple of years for the largest earners. And then you think about where the kids from 16 to 22 are going to bank. You look at all the things that SoFi has, and Galileo and the combination of the cyberbank through Technisys is very interesting because they went from being in talks with one large financial institution to 12 in the matter of a month, from the Q1 earnings to the fireside chat with JP Morgan. When you think about legacy banking and you really start to research it, 70 to 80% of the architecture out there was built in the 70s and 80s and has been updated with Band-Aid fixes. And they're not built for cloud infrastructure. If SoFi can make a name for itself, and I truly believe, knowing how the RFP process works for big organizations, when SoFi goes in,
what's RFP?
Request for proposal.
Okay.
So when you're going for a large piece of
software, it was rich fucking people,
or equipment or something.
How do I join that group?
So when you're going for large pieces of equipment or software, you're looking to do some type of implementation for like Workday or SAP or something. The company that is requisitioning it will reach out to a bunch of sales reps from the competing companies. They'll put out an RFP, and then they'll go through an RFP process, interviews, demos, pricing, and then they'll make a selection. So when SoFi is in the room for these 12 large banks, and they're also talking to other people that are trying to piece together what SoFi is doing, and then SoFi comes in and shows them, this is our tech stack that we are personally using. You're going to get the same thing we're using. That holds a ton of credibility. And when they start signing up these banks, it is reoccurring revenue every freaking quarter that just keeps going and going and going. That's on top of growing the loan book. That's on top of everything else that they're doing. And yeah, like KRIS is saying, these companies are going to have to do it. Look, banking is much different. I don't want to just rant about this, but VITALY and Carlos are perfect examples. Back in the 90s, how hard was it to go and open up a new bank account? And how annoying was it to move money around? Compared to
100%.
It was embarrassing. I didn't have it was so foreign to me and felt so disconnected from anything that I was still the guy that was like cashing my paychecks. Like I was going to the check cashing place and cashing my checks until my boss was like, what the hell are you doing? And he brought me into like Republic. It was Republic Bank at the time before HSBC. And he sat me down and went through the whole process. This is how separate it was for me. But then again, I came from a family where we didn't have a bank account. Like that's where we were at, right? So banking and money, it seemed so foreign and scary to me at the time.
So you got to remember that these banks are set up on a legacy platform. Mm-hmm. Branches, archaic technology, yeah. They're not set up for 2023. And the future generation wants everything instantaneously. They are instant gratification monsters. Amazon, me as well. I do most of my ordering through Amazon because you know what? Living in New York City, if I order it by 10 a.m., there's a good chance I'm getting the same product by 5 p.m., 6 p.m.
So you want to get on your car and go to the store and go buy it and find parking
it's
and risk damaging it on the way home? No, there's a million.
It's
I'm
with
you. Listen, I'm with you. I was an early adopter of ING Bank when they came out, and I had a ton of money in them until Capital One bought them, and then they eventually just got sucked into it. But I loved that bank, and that's what SoFi feels a lot like these days. It feels like the modern day version.
Most legacy banks do not offer a large yield on savings. And to some people, that may not be an
I don't think
important
any of them do.
but
Tiny.
for some people, it is important. And you don't even have to lock it up in a CD or put it in a money market through an investment account. You're getting a 4.3% rate on savings as long as you do direct deposit, and you get $2 million in FDIC insurance.
Honestly, the biggest benefit is not
that.
that. The biggest benefit is that most banks are changing this, though, that you would get charged a late fee or some sort of not enough funds fee, insufficient funds. And that's just like the killer for someone trying to save money. And all of a sudden they're underneath the limit of $500 or whatever it is.
Yeah, 15 bucks.
And you get, yeah, it's 30 bucks.
Yeah.
I think it's like 30, 40 bucks. So that's really the killer of those banks but a lot of them are changing that. So I don't know. SoFi's going to have some more competition as it gets more people.
But to his point, they're trying to catch up with some. They're always going to be playing catch up because it's something that occurs like naturally to SoFi.
Even markets with Goldman Sachs, like.
And the other thing too is to his point. He brought up a really good point, which is like cannot go understated. Right now, Gen X, you and me, Vitaly, we are the highest earners right now, and that's going to go away in a few years. That's going to change. And, I remember when millennials were like the young kids. Now they're coming of age, right? They're going to be the highest earners. And that means that millennial mindset is what's going to be driving at least the retail part of the market. So the entire investment, not sentiment, but the psychology of the market and what makes it move is about to change.
So Carlos, here's the stat. Gen Z's income will reach $33 trillion and surpass millennials in 2031.
Can you bring that up? Whatever you're looking at.
I can link it.
Steve is technically challenged in these.
Yeah, well, I'm using two computers. So the next part is since the end of 2020, Gen Z is on track to increase its income from 7 trillion to 17 trillion by 2025. So these are people that never knew life without a cell phone, without a smartphone, without Amazon. They're going to be more sticky
without Teslas.
Without Teslas. I mean, look, it's a good point. And when they become the largest income producing, and then the generation behind them starts catching up is in the position that they were in. SoFi has a huge runway of growth because once they get your direct deposit, that's why I'm not doing my banking with SoFi. My wife's the boss. She does all the banking, and she doesn't want to switch because we're very sticky with the bank that we use.
Right.
So once they get this whole new crop, this is the best part.
We're going to stay there forever.
People are not stopping having kids. They're going to continue to have an influx of people getting their first job. They're going to continue to have an influx of people taking out student loans, people getting married, people needing personal loans. And
for me, the big thing for them is once Gen Z does get to that age, what do you start thinking about when you're 28, 29, 30? Say you are thinking about getting married. You make the biggest purchase you'll ever make in your life, and you're going to buy a house. And when I go to buy, like I went to my bank to try to get my loan service, but I couldn't because of the way that my income is. But if I was, say, a regular W-2 employee, it would be so easy to just go to my bank because they know my entire banking history. They know my cash flow. They know everything, right? Now, if I could have done that through my bank, I would have, but I couldn't. What do you think if you've been with SoFi since you're 21? And they can help you with that. That's when they really start making those purchases, and that's when
that's what we said about ING. Just remember that.
Yeah, but ING ended up getting bought out. Like I think ING would have been.
And you think under $10 billion bank can't get bought out by JP Morgan?
That is actually.
It does. It's going to be a nice premium.
No, that is.
No, but I'm saying, what's JPM worth? Well, JPM's like a $300 billion business.
400 billion, I think.
400 billion.
They can easily buy that. It's like their lunch money.
And that is what I think Capital One did. Capital One, I think, bought them out and then just demolished, just crushed them. They turned it into Capital One 360, which was nothing. It was like you're saying, bootleg Chris. They put this like skin on it to make it look like ING, but it really was, like you said, this legacy technology and services with this like smear of glitter on top of it that tried to make it look fresh and new. But you knew that it was also.
And my last point on SoFi is it's a company that may not trade as a bank in the next year or two, for the simple reason that they could catch a tech valuation or a hybrid financial/tech valuation if Galileo and Technesis plays out the way that Noto and LaPointe are projecting it to play out. Because if that starts getting baked into analyst reports, and then the narrative starts to change, that's not just a bank, that's not just a student loan company.
It's a fintech.
It's actually a tech platform with these components in a national bank charter, there's a good chance they may not trade as a bank, which makes it even more interesting.
I agree.
Well, it wouldn't trade as a bank until it reaches some larger valuation, until there is something like it's worth like a Wells Fargo. So we have some time for that to play out.
I agreed.
But that's a big multiple from here.
All right, so it's 10 o'clock, but I'll share one chart. Now it's time to sell SoFi, I want to point out. So anyone...
Is this this on the Discord?
Yeah, it's on the Discord. Come join us. We're talking SoFi as well if we have to.
Okay,
So,
you want me to share the screen, right? Okay.
yeah, I thought I'm sharing it, right?
Sorry, yeah, you're good.
So I posted this, and SoFi is in a big downtrend still, and I see resistance at 1140, and I do have a bunch of calls. I think everyone in this pod at this point has a lot of calls.
2-year calls.
We have 2-year calls. Yes, I only buy leaps. So we have leaps. We were buying at $5 basically, and so it might run up to 1140. And in fact, I will be taking some profits, not selling all my SoFi. I do have a lot of shares as well. But I will be taking some profits at around this resistance, even if it shoots up. And call me sucker, but it's up like 200% plus right now, these calls. So
Can you go to the weekly on that? Oh, you can't.
no, this was just something I posted.
Right now. I just want to see the weekly on that.
So I just want to point out that we are coming up to a point where there is some resistance that I know everybody's bullish, but it looks like there's some strong resistance coming.
I feel like what you're seeing is this parabolic is baking in the whole pause, the Fed pause. This is my thesis anyway, that this is everyone saying, okay, we're going to bake in what happens when there's a pause. And if they do in fact announce it, I think we're going to start to see a lot of people taking profits off the table.
Oh, don't forget.
That's why I'm not going heavy right now.
August 26th. I mean, if the government doesn't come out with something, which I'm still not convinced it's going to happen, but if it comes back August 26th, then they're going to start seeing revenue from that in Q3. And Noto went on record saying that they will be profitable by Q4. So there are catalysts down the road.
5 cents away from profitability.
They are. No, there's absolute catalysts. And